The game of the weekend was certainly in Dallas as the Cowboys and Giants faced off in a game that sucked for 3 quarters and then just went bananas in quarter number 4. This looked like you and your buddies are getting ready to play Madden on a Friday night. And it's like, okay, we ready? Oh, man, well, we're just not going to have snacks and drinks. Let's just throw Giants Cowboys on, and we'll let the computer play it. Let's run. Let's go get some snacks. Let's come back and we'll play what's left. And they came back in the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, we got a game. Let's play. And it just all of a sudden lit up. No defense could do anything. And all the offenses were nuts. We had 4 lead changes plus a 60-yard field goal to tie the game to send it to overtime. And then we went back into neither team can do anything mode in OT. And it ends with Russell Wilson throwing a pick, the Cowboys able to move the ball and hit a game-winning field goal to give them their first win of the season. On the Giants side, I think there are some real problems here. At least the offense looked functional, which was not something you could say after week 1 when it looked like one of the worst offensive teams in the NFL. Russell Wilson was airing it out, and he was trusting his guys. Wan'Dale Robinson was getting open, and Malik Neighbors wasn't, but he was making catches in big-time moments anyway. And Scadaboo was at least running a little bit for that group against a Cowboys team that got gashed in the run game a week ago. So some issues there. But at least the offense looked like it could get something going. But 2 things that would make me very worried if I were Brian Daboll today, because he is obviously on the hot seat right now. The main thing is that this offense needs to look like it is running functionally and taking a step forward. And this game, maybe it looked like that, but it certainly didn't in the first week. And the thing that is boggling my mind is they were alternating snaps at quarterback at one point with Jackson Dart. And I understand you want to get him some real life NFL reps, and that's fine. But so much of this sport at the quarterback position is getting into a rhythm, getting into a flow, and having a timing with your pass catchers. How are you able to do that with exact opposite ends of the experience spectrum out there from one play to the next, so your receivers don't get into that groove? Jackson Dart, like, yes, he is able to throw passes against human beings who are under NFL contract, but this isn't feeling like an NFL start for him. He's running in, he's making a play, and he's running out. How is that doing anything for him aside from letting him throw the football some? It's not creating any kind of chemistry with your wide receivers. It's not letting you get into any type of a flow, and you're really not teaching him a whole lot, because it's not like the defense is like, oh, these are the Jackson Dart snaps now, let's figure it out. So he's going up against very vanilla, very base defenses. I don't see what the benefit is, aside from we can say we put him into the game, and maybe when he does actually take over as the starter in a few weeks, it won't feel as big to him because he's thrown NFL passes in real NFL games. But I think there's a way to do that. I will suggest next week garbage time is going to come up for the Giants against Kansas City, and Dart is going to get some opportunities against a good defense. This doesn't seem like the way to do that at all. So I hated that. And then a big thing here, and maybe one of the bigger flags against the Giants this week, and pun fully intended, it was the penalties. And on defense, and I get that's not necessarily Daboll's thing, but he's the coach, so it kind of needs to be. They took a lot of really dumb penalties that put them in some bad spots. They had one play where a block was executed and they were able to get a first down, and the offensive lineman just keeps hammering on the Cowboys player until eventually it's unnecessary roughness, and all the good that they did on that drive. It was after the Robinson, the first 51-yard play down the field, I believe it was. Either it was the first real big play of the game, and they were able to get that, and they're down at like the 1, but then the offensive lineman takes this penalty, marches them back a little bit. They have to settle for a field goal, which kind of seems like a big thing in a game where they lost in overtime. And then defensively, you get a stop on CeeDee Lamb on a little bit of a wide receiver screen on 2nd and 10. So you've set them up in 3rd and long, but instead of just, hey, we got the stop, Phillips gets him and tries a German suplex on him, and that's a penalty. and it's 15 yards. And they get a stop on CeeDee Lamb on 3rd down and 9, and they took 3 penalties on the play. Now, Lamb took another one, and so they were offsetting somehow that 45 yards of penalties on the Giants and 10 on the Cowboys offset, and we had 3rd and 9 again. But still, it is undisciplined football from a team that kind of has to play perfect to win every week. And so if I am a decision maker with the Giants, that is not telling me that this is a coach that has both hands on the steering wheel right now. So even though the offense looked better, which is kind of what this guy is judged by, I think still some really big red flags around what's happening with the Giants at this point. For the Cowboys, once again, I thought Dak looked really good. Begrudgingly, I will admit that Pickens became a big part of this thing as it went on, but for most of this game, he was pretty quiet. And again, it was Turbin, it was Tolbert getting some of the look. So from a fantasy perspective, Pickens, I think, has a pretty good day, but that is not something I'm really banking on. I would hope that someone was watching the madness of this game, and I could maybe flip Pickens from a fantasy perspective. We'll have a lot more fantasy football talk coming up tomorrow. But for the Cowboys, the offense is back on track. The offense is going to be all right this year. But the Giants, that defense, it needed to be better in this game, and it wasn't. And then for the Cowboys, to see the problems that they had in defending what feels like a mediocre offense at this point should be very concerning for Dallas if they want to do anything this season. So I don't think that there is a lot that the Cowboys should take away from this in we got this sort of a way. Dak looks good. The running backs look better than a lot of people expected them to. A few players came up with some big plays. So I don't want to take away anything from this, because that is a win. That is a really good win for the Cowboys. And to be able to come up with a few big plays when they needed it in scenarios where they couldn't in week 1, albeit against much less resistance, that's still a good win for them. But I don't think it needs to mean that the Cowboys are now the toast of the town in the NFC or anything like that. It can just be, this was a strong win for Dallas.